Okay, so we're going to review a little bit of what we did in the introductory course by showing a hip bump sweep. And we're going to show a few different sweeps, like I said, a few different transfers, and a few different submissions and how they can blend together. So I'm going to start with my head facing the camera. So I have Jade in a closed guard, and I like to break her posture. Okay, so what she automatically does here is she tries to push away from me and posture back up. Notice now that her movement is going backwards. I'm going to try to take advantage of that momentum, okay, for my hip bump sweep. So I'm going to break her down, and as she naturally tries to posture back up, I'm going to post up right here on my hand. I don't want to be on my elbow. I want to be all the way up on my hand because I want to create the best angle possible. Once I've done that, I'm going to open my guard and plant my feet on the ground. At the same time, I'm locking her arm right here. And this is going to be her posting arm, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I'm going to lock her arm so she can't post. And now I'm going to bump and twist. I'm going to bump my hip towards her and twist. And now I go from being in a closed guard to a mount. And notice also our heads are facing the same direction that they started out in. Okay? That's going to let you know and signify to you that you did the hip bump and the twist the correct way, or at least the most advantageous way. So let's do that again. So I'm in a closed guard. I'm going to try to break her posture. She doesn't like it. She's going to move back. I'm going to use up momentum to get that hip bump sweep. Okay? It's going to be all one fluid motion. And let me say that when you're drilling it, we're going to try and make it one fluid motion, but it's not going to always be pretty, especially when you're going live. So again, in that closed guard, I'm going to try to break that posture. And remember, I'm not going to just let her up. I'm going to be really trying to control her. But if she wins right here, look at how I'm already up on my hand. My feet are opening up, getting ready to push through her and twist her. And I don't want to forget about this, because if I were to have my hand here and I start to hip bump, look at, she's got a post. And of course we have options to deal with this. I could either reach over and take away that post, or maybe if I'm getting fancy, I can kick away her post, right? It just depends. But we want to start off correctly where I can just take away her post from the beginning and end right here where I already have another part of her body isolated. Okay? Now I'm going to show that from a side view. So I'm here, my legs are closed, I'm going to reach up, I'm going to try to break her posture. And now as she tries to build herself back up, she's going to posture up, I'm going to come up, and notice I post my hand. As I come over, I open my guards, so that way I can post my feet on the ground. The reason why I like to post my feet on the ground, it's going to give me leverage to bump her forward. A lot of people just get here and they think it's just a twisting motion. I got to bump her hip out of alignment so that way she becomes weak. All right, so I'm using my hips to bump her and then twist her. Okay, one more time. So I'm breaking the posture. She's trying to push back up. Boom, watch, bam. Jay, do you have anything else to add to that for that hip bump sweep?
The only thing I can say, if you're the person on the other side, you always want to make sure that your feet are tucked underneath your butt.
That's a very good point. All right.
You don't want to have your legs out like this when you're sitting in the closed guard.
Exactly. So when you, and I was going to talk about that more when we're playing your position, the closed guard, but that's a very good point, because if you start drilling this and you have a training partner, you want them, right, to be in the right position. So when you're in somebody's closed guard, you don't want your knees close together. Go ahead and face them. You don't want your knees close together because that makes her really unstable. Does that make sense? Now, as her knees are wide apart, then she's a lot more stable. So that also creates a place for me, the one who's playing closed guard, to fit right in here. Okay, so real quick, if I were in this closed guard, notice how my butt's between her legs. But if she were to put her legs together, and it's a little bit more uncomfortable for me, but I'm going to be able to take advantage of that really easy. So she's going to be smart by really having a wide base. So it's kind of like a weird compromise that we have. The other thing is she never has her butt up, and we'll talk about what to do when somebody lifts their opponent up. So she doesn't want her butt way up here. All right, and I wouldn't go for a hip bump sweep with her butt way up here. But she's not going to usually opt to have her butt up because I'm going to start getting underneath her. And she doesn't want me underneath her. and it's not as strong of a base. So if she pops up and I start pushing her around to the side, you see how she compromises that base. So she wants to be low, center of gravity. So you see how she's like framing on my hips right here, wide knees. And so I'm going for the hip bump sweep because she's doing the correct thing, right? So as you hear jiu-jitsu be referred to as chess, this is kind of the thing. She's doing the proper thing. And so that's why I am going for a hip bump sweep as my first sweep or transfer of position, right?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so that's the hip bump sweep from trying to collapse the head, okay? So they're doing the correct thing. We have a sweep to go for, or we have an attack to go for from the second they're doing the correct thing, right?